Let's be real for a second. An annual report can look pretty intimidating, just pages and pages of corporate speak and numbers. But what if I told you that hidden inside these documents are some absolutely incredible stories? Stories of challenge, innovation, and sometimes a really dramatic comeback. Well, today we're going to prove it. We're taking the actual annual reports from a company, PT Indonesia Kendaraan Terminal, we'll just call them IPCC, and use them to decode the story of how they went from a huge loss to a massive success.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll get to know the company, who they are and what they do. Then we'll follow the money and see that big financial turnaround. After that, we're going to look under the hood at the tech that made it all possible, figure out who's actually steering the ship, and finally, take a peek at the road ahead.
All right, first up, every great story needs a main character. And for us, it's a company that plays this huge, vital role in Indonesia's entire automotive world.
So think of it like this. Pretty much every brand new car, truck, or piece of heavy machinery that comes into or leaves Indonesia by sea has to pass through a specific gateway. Well, IPCC runs those gateways. They operate these gigantic car parks at ports, like the huge one in Tanjung Priok in Jakarta, making sure millions of vehicles get exactly where they need to go. They're a super critical link in the whole supply chain.
But in 2020, just like for so many businesses around the world, the road got really bumpy. The global situation hit them hard, and the company was facing some serious headwinds. And this is where our story really kicks off. The annual report becomes our guide, laying out in black and white the entire journey from that challenge to an amazing recovery.
Now for the heart of the drama. You can forget fiction because these numbers right here tell one of the most compelling stories a business can have. The story of a massive financial comeback.
It really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or, I guess in this case, the multi-billion rupiah question. How do you actually turn the ship around when you're that deep in the red? Well, the answer starts right here, with the numbers.
Just look at this. This single table is the heart of the whole story. In 2020, the company lost almost 24 billion rupiah. Ouch. But just 1 year later, they flipped that completely, turning it into a profit of over 60 billion. That's a swing of more than 350%. This one line is the headline of their comeback. It's incredible.
And this bar chart, this brilliantly shows what that turnaround means in the real world. Return on assets is just a fancy way of asking, how good are you at using your stuff, your terminals, your equipment to make money? In 2020, they were actually losing money on their assets. By 2021, every single asset was back to making a positive return. It's a fundamental sign of a healthy, really well-run operation. And hey, this isn't just us looking at the numbers and making it all up. Right here, in their own words, the company's management put their stamp on it. This quote connects all that hard data back to the actual people who made it happen, marking that year as a truly pivotal moment of improvement and success.
So how'd they do it? I mean, a financial recovery like that doesn't just happen by magic. You have to change how you do things fundamentally. For IPCC, the answer was technology. So let's go take a look inside the digital engine room that powered this whole comeback.
So at the very core of their operation is something called a terminal operating system, or TOS. Now, the best way to think about this is as the digital brain of the entire port. It's the thing that coordinates every single moving part to make sure what could be total chaos runs like clockwork.
Now, this is what's really cool. IPC's specific system, which they call PTOSC, totally transformed their business. It automates booking by talking directly to the car maker's computers, uses smart data to optimize exactly where every car is parked, kind of like a giant game of Tetris for maximum efficiency. It gives clients real-time tracking so they always know where their vehicles are, and it automates the billing. Each one of these steps cuts down on friction, saves money, and just makes the whole process faster and way more transparent for everybody involved.
Okay, so we've got a financial comeback, and we've seen the tech behind it. But who's actually making the big decisions? Who owns the company and keeps them accountable? Let's take a look at who's steering this corporate ship. So in a lot of companies, including this one, you've got two key groups. The board of directors, think of them as the captains. They're on the bridge every day, managing the day-to-day and executing the strategy. Then you have the board of commissioners. They're like the navigators. They represent the shareholders, and their job is to supervise the captains and make sure the ship is heading toward the right long-term destination. It's a system of action and oversight working together. So who do those navigators answer to? The owners, of course. And this chart breaks it all down. You can see the biggest owner is PT Pelindo, which is a large state-owned port group.
But what's really important for us is that slice for the public, over 22% of the company. That means regular investors can actually own a piece of this comeback story. And why does that public ownership matter so much? Because of numbers like this one. NDPC has a policy to pay out at least 30% of its net profit back to its owners in the form of dividends. So when the company made that 60 billion rupiah profit we saw earlier, a big chunk of that went directly back into the pockets of its shareholders. Profitability is directly tied to a return for the owners.
You know, an annual report is never just about looking in the rearview mirror. It's also about laying out the map for the road ahead. So let's see what the report tells us about where IPCC is driving into the future.
This timeline shows a really clear and ambitious strategy. Back in 2021, the theme was synergy and improvement, all about recovering and rebuilding. But by 2024, the vision had gotten way bigger, becoming a world-class car terminal ecosystem. And this isn't just talk. In October 2024, they put their money where their mouth is, expanding their operations to a brand new port. It shows a clear path from recovery to aggressive growth. Of course, any journey into the future has potential speed bumps, and a good annual report is totally transparent about these risks. Here, we see IPCC openly acknowledging the threat of a cyber attack on their high-tech systems. But they don't just state the problem and walk away. They outline a clear plan to deal with it. New firewalls, antiviruses, and bringing in security experts. It shows they're being proactive, not reactive.
So, there we have it. We've seen it firsthand. An annual report isn't just some dusty old document. It's a narrative. It tells the story of a company's past, its struggles, and its triumphs. But even more importantly, through its strategy, its investments, and how it plans for risk, it gives us powerful clues about the story that is still being written. The next time you see one, don't just see numbers. Go look for the story.